Hello once again, great trolls. So as we said, we are going to be dealing with the short run cost curves. So we'll be looking at our cost curves. So before we continue, let us define what's a short run. So a short run, it's a period where one factor of production is fixed, for example, capital. So let us check how our cost curve look like. So this is how our cost curve look like. So there is no need to fear. We'll just go through them one step at a time. So I'll take you through our cost curves, and take in mind it is the cost curves, not the revenue curve, but the cost curve. So we have our TC standing for the total cost. Then on the x-axis you have your output, on your y-axis you have your cost. So now as you can see, our cost curve is upward and downward sloping. What does that mean? As production increases, then your cost increases, but as time goes by, you'll be making enough profit in a way that your cost, they will decrease. But then the more you produce and not increasing your, let's say for example, some of your inputs, then your cost will therefore increase. So total cost is made of fixed cost and variable cost. Now what are fixed cost? Fixed costs are those costs that remain the same throughout the month. They will remain the same no matter how much you produce, but the fixed costs, they do not change. As quantity changes, the fixed cost does not change. Then firms incur cost even if the quantity is zero. So by looking at our graph, you can already tell where the fixed cost starts. At zero quantity, then there are some costs that have been incurred. Then we also have the variable cost. What are variable costs? The word tells you itself. They vary, they change. The more you produce, the more that the variable cost changes. So as you can hear from the term, they change, they vary. So let's not mix the two. Fixed cost, they remain the same. The variable cost, they change as output increases. So on our graph, you can tell that the fixed cost is at a point whereby the quantity is at zero. So it is a horizontal line. Our fixed cost is at a horizontal line, stating that it remains the same. The price or the cost remains the same no matter the quantity produced, but it will remain the same. So the variable cost, it depends on the quantity produced. It changes as quantity changes, so the variable cost varies. So both these costs, they make up the total cost. Examples for your fixed cost, they can be your wages or salaries that you pay per month, they remain fixed. And your variable cost, they can be the cost of production, such as your cost of input, your input cost, or your water bill. It may change each month, or your electricity bill, so it changes every month. So this is how a variable cost curve looks like. So a variable cost curve starts at zero, so it changes, it depends on the output. When there is no output produced, there are no costs incurred, but the more you produce, then that's the more it increases, and up to a point whereby it will decrease. So we'll get to those terms of diminishing and your terms such as increasing returns and decreasing returns. Okay, let us look at an example. So let's say for example you are producing bread, and we say in the short run capital is fixed, so you only have one oven. So in the short run you can only hire more labor, and the more you hire the labor, then there will be a constraint on that capital. There won't be as productive because they are all using one and the same oven to produce. Yes, hiring more labor makes it productive. It makes it they will produce more goods, but the problem is that the more the labor and the less the capital, then it creates a constraint on the capital. We also have a marginal cost curve. It is marginal cost is equals to change in total cost divided by the change in quantity. That's the formula. And by definition, a marginal cost is the cost of producing an additional unit. So the moment you hear marginal, think of an additional. So the more we produce, then there will be more cost. That's called the marginal cost. We also have an average variable cost. So an average variable cost, you take your variable cost from the total cost and divide it by the quantity. So in grade 11 we are focusing on the shapes and the formulas, then you'll dwell more in grade 12. It also intersects with the MC curve. So the MC curve intersects with the average variable cost at its minimum point. Then we also have average fixed cost. So it's average meaning we are dividing. So for an average you divide. So an average fixed cost, you take your fixed cost from your total cost and divide it by the quantity. So that's our cost curves, and we may proceed to the next topic.